The starting guide is the first part of the proposal project, and it is an excellent tool for helping you pick a proposal topic that works well. I use the starting guide in most projects I do, regardless of whether they are proposals or not, because the starting guide helps you ground your problem discussion very thoroughly and in a way that is compelling for the audience. So all of you are going to go through the starting guide, and I'm going to take you through it in this short video and then give you some examples and help you evaluate some other starting guides. Okay, as you see on this assignment sheet, there are 6 steps to the starting guide. The first step is to pick an organization that you are familiar with. When I say organization, I mean something broadly construed. It could be a family, it could be a business, a class, any kind of organization that you're familiar with. And the key here is you need to be invested in this organization, and you need to be invested in the problem, because the best proposals come out of problems that you are invested in and that you would like to solve. Okay, the next step. Within your organization, list a few topics about which you have strong feelings, positive or negative. And so start listing your topics. Start listing the things that you've really liked or not liked. Okay. Now, for each of these topics, number 3, 3A, write down your expectations or values for the general area in which this topic fits, and we call that the A side. And then the B is match these with any aspects of the topic that either fall short of or exceed these expectations and values, and we call that the B side. If some of your values or expectations are met, indicate that. Number 4, formulate questions based on some of the best dissonances. And you will understand what a dissonance is when you read in the course pack that short chapter called Starting Guides and Stating Problems. The question should express what you want to investigate and solve with your proposal. Order your questions in terms of importance to you. Okay, next, after formulating questions, number 5, select a guiding question for your writing. Think about your readers and your writing role. What question and possible solution is best suited for your writing role? What question would be of most interest to your reader? What questions would be significant enough to lead to worthwhile solutions, yet not take you down roads that are too large or out of the scope of this assignment? And then number 6, from your guiding question, write a tentative proposal objective. Now this might seem like busy work, but it is not. This is a very powerful tool. And if you do this well, you will start your proposal well, and it will be well grounded. And this is the best start for success. Okay, so here is an example of a starting guide, and this was done by a student of mine years ago at Ohio University. And this was a senior at Ohio University, and he was an education major. And he saw a number of his friends who were a few years ahead of him who taught for 1 or 2 years and then they quit. And that was his concern. His concern was inadequate education and first-year teachers quitting. So on the A side, as you see here, he listed his ideals and values. We might call them the benchmarks, what he likes or wishes were happening. Much effort and energy devoted to state education. New legislation seeks more equity in funding, better technology. Now these things are happening or should happen. Better technology. He would hope that there's effective teacher preparation. He would hope that Ohio University prepares teachers well. Teachers can experience success early on, and teachers can build on a new era of education. But the reality is the B side. First-year teachers are not returning. They're feeling isolated, cut off. He believes they had inadequate classroom experience because they didn't know what they were getting into. He believes they were ill-prepared. Now, these are things that he believes, and these words won't show up in his proposal, but that's what he was wrestling with. And so he said that OU graduates are left to sink or swim with often disastrous results. So you see, if you read in Stating Problems, you see a dissonance or a contradiction between his A side and B side. And because of that contradiction now, he is articulating questions. And I want to go through each one of these questions to see if you think it's a good question for his proposal. Why are first-year teachers not returning? If that were the topic of the proposal, would that be a good topic? Actually, no, because he would have to figure out maybe some teachers moved away, some teachers found a better job, some teachers went back to graduate school. So that is too broad, and it's not centered, it doesn't center well on his A-B side. It's part of the problem, but it's not the whole problem. Second, do first-year teachers receive adequate support from their schools? Again, that's part of the problem, but he would have to go around and look at all of the support from the schools in the area and see how the teachers, see how they're being supported. That's too big, and it's also not centrally connected to his A-B dissonance because he's trying to look at how well they're prepared at OU. Why is OU graduating ill-prepared teachers? It's getting better, but in terms of a question for his proposal, it's leading because it's assuming they're ill-prepared. So it's off-balanced or biased, but it's getting closer to the central problem between his A side and his B side. What parts of the OU curriculum are not preparing well OU graduates for teaching? Getting better, getting more specific. My question is, though, as a student, does he understand how well the curriculum is laid out and what parts are working and not working? So that's probably beyond his role there as a student. Do OU students have unreasonable expectations about their future jobs? That's a good question, but it's probably too specific. If he answered that, he wouldn't be getting at the central part of his A-B dissonance, and that is we should have good teaching, we should have good preparation, but students, first-year teachers are leaving and not coming back. And so this is a little too specific. Finally, why do OU students have inadequate classroom experience? Good question. And actually, that was a question that led him to his proposal objective and what kinds of classroom experience would be appropriate. Now, these last two questions led him to articulate, write a proposal to the head of education OU proposing a new internship or student teaching program for sophomore education majors. Now, I was a little bit worried about his writing role based on his proposal objective because it's a pretty big proposal that he's thinking about. But then I realized that his father was very high up in the education area in the county, and that his whole family was involved in it. So he had a lot of experience, a lot of resources. So let's look at his writing role. He's a graduating senior at OU. He has experience with OU curriculum professors and issues. He has experience in various teaching positions in Athens County, Ohio. And so he's writing to the dean and other leaders of college education OU. Ohio Department of Education is a little too high. Director of Student Teaching is probably the right reader. Okay, so this is kind of a stretch, but he did do a good job, and he was able to pull off a good proposal to have them think about an internship for sophomores, written to the Director of Student Teaching, copied to the Dean and other leaders of the College of Education. Now, if you look at the proposal format, it was part of a research report, it was part decision making, it was part a service and part project. So it had aspects of all three of those proposals, of those types of proposals. Here are some successful 318 proposals. All of them are pretty good. Some of them are a little large. For example, this proposal to construct a new curve on Stern Road. A student fictionalized his own company. If you want to fictionalize your own company, you can do that to solve a problem that you're interested in. Now, the second half of this sheet is called an invention, And I'm not going to require you to do that, but it's often very helpful for students to go through this invention to look at the topic from the static view, which means the description, its static features, things that don't change, the dynamic view, which how things change, and the relative view, which puts it in context. This is very useful. I use this frequently, but I won't look at this, and it's not part of your assignment that I will grade or I will evaluate. Now I thought I'd take you through a couple of starting guides that I've done in other classes, recent classes. Here's a starting guide done by a student last year. It's a program, a proper training program should be assigned to each new associate at Gymboree. Now you'll look at this and you'll see that, is this really a concern or is it a solution? And one of the things I'm going to challenge you to do is to not think about solutions yet, but to think about problems. So first off, there's probably an issue here, and this was a first draft. Let's look at her A side. She values faster, more efficient employees. They value increased overall sales, happy and satisfied customers, excellent higher customer service evaluation, fewer problems with employees unaware of how to handle, and more independent and confident employees. Now, the B side, many employees are not familiar with the policies, monthly sales goals are not being reached, customers not always completely satisfied, and that's getting lower in the district. There's a lot of calls to store managers, and there are timid employees afraid of making a mistake. So this actually is an excellent dissonance, but her concern shouldn't be stated in the form of a solution. Should be there's problems with the current training program. Okay. Let's look at her questions. Why is there no proper training program for managers to follow? That's a good question. It's kind of a leading question that assumes that there should be a proper training program, and maybe that's okay. But it should be more balanced as what kind of training program would work. Is there enough funds? That's a great question, but that's not the question that's not the guiding question, because that's one part of the question. Will all stores actually follow through with the program when training? That she probably has no idea, and that's outside the realm of this proposal itself. Who will be in charge of getting the new hires together and training them? That's too specific, and that's something she probably needs to answer with her research, but that's not central to the problem. How long should this program persist for each employee? She's focused too much on the training itself and not on why it should be happening and the quality of the training. Should the new hire be required to stay in this training program until he or she passes a test that ensures the manager that she is ready? Okay. Again, it's focused too much on the solution. So these questions just assume that there would be a new training program, and that's fine. But the questions need to focus on what kind of training program. How could the employees be trained? What are they lacking? What do they need, etc., etc. So these questions were all, and this whole starting guide is too focused on the solution, but the proposal objective is okay. To write a proposal to the district and regional manager requesting that a proper training program be issued to each store in order to properly train new hires. That is a good proposal, but she needs to back up and focus actually on the quality of the training program. Now I've taken you through two starting guides and just a couple of notes. First, don't focus on the solution, focus on the concern or problem. Second, make sure you have an excellent A side, which has the ideals and benchmarks, and the B side, which is the reality. Third, make sure your questions are appropriate. That is, get at the central part of your problem, not focus too much on the solution. Make sure the questions don't take you past what is doable. And then make sure that your objective, actually I missed her writing rules. Make sure that your objective is in line with what you can do this semester. Thanks.